Good morning, everyone. Happy 40th day of the legislative session. So, good to have everybody here. And I'm waiting on my good rules chairman to find the journal. I recognize the senator from the 28th for the reading of the journal.
Thank you, and good morning, Mr. President, and happy Sine Die, Day 40. But it's also Little Red Wagon Day. It's National Mom and Pop Business Owners Day. It's Piano Day, Manatee Appreciation Day. And very importantly, it's Welcome Home Vietnam Veterans Day. And on this day in 1997, the first game at Turner Field in Atlanta, the Braves beat none other than the Yankees 2-0. Mr. President, we got a great lineup of pages today, starting with Marlena Holt, Zion Holmes, Rebecca Patton, Trey Smith Battle, Ernest Gephardt, Truman Gephardt, Gavin Stevens, David Dennis, Garrison Andrews, Sarah Belligot, Tristan Caldwell, Niani Williams, Tesfanish Nat, Claire Lanigan, Trinity Seals, Hortensia Congolo, Anzar Rahman, Michael Ovaji, Avery Dennis, Emma Giles, Thomas Hudgens, Madeline Ling, and Aubrey Metters. Y'all give our pages a big round of applause. Y'all gonna be working hard today. We got a long day. We hope you stay with us to the wee hours of the morning. Mr. President, through 40 days of long, hard work, we've got a very, very thick journal here. But I've read it, and it is found to be correct.
Well, that is very good, and you've done a great job of giving us an update on the journal this session, and also recognizing the good pages, and we do appreciate all those young folks there in the back for all the hard work that they do for us. So I recognize the senator from the 27th for what purpose do you rise, Senator?
Parliamentary inquiry, Mr. President.
State your inquiry.
Do you intend to throw a baseball this morning?
A baseball? No, I probably won't be throwing any baseballs, but if I had an opportunity, I could probably throw it better than anybody in this room. So, but anyways, all right. Is there objection to the reading of the journal? Objection? You're out of order with that objection. So, is there objection to dispensing of the reading of the journal? Chair hears none, and the journal is confirmed. First reading references the Senate bills.
Senate Resolution 418 by Senator James of the 35th and others, a resolution creating the Senate Study Committee on Access to Podiatrists and Limb Saving Services and for other purposes.
Rules.
Senate Resolution 424 by Senator Merritt of the 9th and others, a resolution urging Governor Brian Kemp, Chancellor Sonny Perdue, and the Georgia General Assembly to swiftly
Rules.
create. That completes the order, Mr. President.
Secretary will read reports of standing committees.
Mr. President, the Senate Committee on SLOGO has had under consideration the following legislation, has instructed me to report the same back to the Senate with the following recommendation. House Bill 698 do pass, House Bill 717 do pass, House Bill 731 do pass, House Bill 740 do pass, House Bill 757 do pass, House Bill 759 do pass, House Bill 772 do pass, House Bill 775 do pass, House Bill 776 do pass, House Bill 778 do pass, House Bill 780 do pass, House Bill 781 do pass, House Bill 782 do pass, House Bill 783 do pass, House Bill 784 do pass, House Bill 788 do pass. House Bill 807 do pass. House Bill 678 do pass. Respectfully submitted, Senator again of the 47th District Chairman. That completes the order, Mr. President.
It is now time for the morning roll call. Are there any motions to excuse? Recognize the senator from the 44th.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. I ask unanimous consent to excuse the senator from the 38th and from the 43rd.
Senator from the 38th and from the 40th without objection are excused. Senator from the 19th.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move that we excuse the senator from the 17th for business outside the chamber.
Without objection, senator from the 17th is excused. Senator from the 31st. Senator from the 33rd.
Thank you, Mr. President, and good morning, you all. I ask for unanimous consent to excuse the senator from the 5th for business inside the Capitol.
Without objection, senator from the 5th is excused. Senator from the 6th.
Good morning. Unanimous consent to excuse the senator from the 7th and the senator from the 5th.
Without objection, senators from the 7th and the 5th are excused. It is now time for morning roll call. Secretary will unlock the machine. Signify your presence by... It is now time for our morning devotion, and glad to have the senator from the 54th to introduce his chaplain of the day. And I will recognize the senator of the 54th to join in our Pledge of Allegiance and also introduce our chaplain of the day.
Thank you, Mr. President. Please join us in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
and the Georgia flag. I pledge allegiance to the Georgia flag and the principles for which it stands, wisdom, justice, moderation, courage. Friends, it's an honor to bring our guest pastor of the day today, and for those of you who know me and know what I got to do for 30 years, I worked Department of Juvenile Justice as state probation officer, and it was my calling to do that, and it was my mission field that I got to work in and had the privilege to work in. And just to share with you just something that happened in the last couple months. I spoke to one of my former probationers. He reached out to me, calling me because he had an issue. Turns out he's in his 40s, which means I'm old, really old now. But after we were talking on the phone, I was on my way here, actually, one morning, and he said, "Chuck, can I pray for you?" And to go from that young man sitting in my office that probably at one time hated everything that was coming out of my mouth and everything I stood for, to now be praying over me, I just say that, to tell you that, just know that there is a God, and he does work within the hearts and minds of people. But Emily Kelly, I met her because through this job, and she serves as the director of the Office of Chaplaincy Services for the Georgia Department of Juvenile Justice. Chaplain Kelly first began as a chaplain intern at Metro RYDC, Regional Youth Detention Center, in 2015 while attending Emory University's Candler School of Theology. She continued as a religious volunteer and was hired as the Northwest Georgia Regional Chaplain in 2018. In addition, she earned her Master of Divinity from Emory University. Chaplain Kelly is a provisional deacon within the United Methodist Church and has held a clear discernment for working at the Department of Juvenile Justice throughout her ordination process. She believes that taking the time to truly see and hear each person we interact with, we can actually change the world. To hear the hearts and souls of other people, we can change the world. It's my honor to introduce to you Emily Kelly.
Good morning, good morning. It is truly an honor to be here this morning. The youth we serve within the Department of Juvenile Justice are always in some sort of transition. So you'll find a copy of a prayer that we're going to be looking at today as we prepare and also as a way as we center down for this final day. It starts with saying, it helps now and then to step back and to take a long view. The kingdom is not only beyond our efforts, it is even beyond our vision. We accomplish in our lifetime only a tiny fraction of the magnificent enterprise that is God's work. Nothing we do is complete, which is a way of saying that the kingdom always lies beyond us. No statement says all that could be said. No prayer fully expresses our faith. No confession brings perfection. No pastoral visit brings wholeness. No program accomplishes the church's mission. No set of goals and objectives includes everything. This is what we are about. We plant the seeds that one day will grow. We water seeds already planted, knowing that they hold future promise. We lay foundations that will need further development. We provide yeast that produces far beyond our capabilities. We cannot do everything. And there is a sense of liberation with realizing that. This enables us to do something and to do it very well. It may be incomplete, but it is a beginning, a step along the way, an opportunity for the Lord's grace to enter in and do the rest. We may never see the end results, but that is the difference between the master builder and the worker. We are workers, not master builders. Ministers, not messiahs. We are prophets of a future not our own. Amen. Now, I've not known Senator Chuck Payne long, as some of y'all may. However, I have a feeling that it does not take long to learn that he believes that we shall hope instead of want. In fact, a little birdie has shared with me that if you're going to speak to Senator Payne, that you must wrap it up in a gift of hope. Now, I think we want to see this as a beautifully wrapped gift, but I'm also reminded of how a room looks when the gifts have become unwrapped. There's wrapping paper all over the floor, it's under chairs and tables, it's halfway but not completely inside the garbage bag. This disheveled image of hope is what presents hope in my mind. As the prayer we read says, it helps now and then to step back and take a long view. Can we take a step back, or are we so caught up with what we think we want? As a chaplain, I respond to various situations, and I have to remind myself to take a step back before entering into a pastoral care moment. I think back to a youth I was notified about who had just learned that his brother had died. As I was walking to see the youth, I knew that we had never had an interaction that ended with him asking me if I could pray for him. And so while I wanted to pray for him, and I wanted to take away the pain-filled grief away from him, I knew that those words would only be a temporary act of trying to problem solve. I could have checked a box, but I would not be acting on a vision of ministry that I hope for. Instead of rewrapping the gift, I did not pray aloud for this youth. I instead did my best to collect the torn wrapping paper. And I asked him instead if he would want to read a book with me. I gave him Howard Thurman's Meditations of the Heart, and each week we would get together and wrestle with the text. And at the end of every time we would meet, I would ask him how I could be praying for him. And he would respond, I don't know. Now, is this the answer that I wanted? No. But finally, one day when I asked how I could be praying for him, he said to me, he opened up and shared the prayers with me. And we sat on the gym floor together and we prayed. Now I was able to, a year later, anoint him with oil following his baptism. This story puts into perspective of why our hope must overcome our desire to want. The prayer we first read says that nothing we do will be complete. You entered into this position within the Senate with your own sense of calling, an own vision of hope. You have spent countless hours, and on this final day, I feel like I should say countless hours again, striving to make the state of Georgia a better state. You have built on its foundation. What is your vision of hope? Take the time to take a step back and to remind yourself why you first felt called to this position. Will you pray with me? Almighty Creator, we understand that we are merely adding to a foundation that is ever changing. You give us the ability to have a vision of hope. Allow for each person here to recognize the community of people that they have around them and the various visions of hope that each person has. Liberate our minds as we remember that we cannot do everything, but enable us to do something. While it may be incomplete, it is a beginning. May the presence of God be felt and seen in this space. May a vision of hope remain throughout our time. Amen.
if I could have everybody's attention real quick, we need to recognize, as the AJC put it, the best dressed senators in the room here. I think we had several that made the best dressed legislators here. A couple of our freshman senators made that list. Senator Islam, Senator Eccles, Senator Williams. I know I'm breaking the rules right now, but so anyways, let's give everybody a round of those senators a round of applause for looking their best every day. We also have a very special guest here. We have the Watermelon Queen, Georgia Watermelon Queen here today. Let's give her a round of applause here. We have some special guests here today. We weren't going to do special presentations, but the senator from the 21st asked very nicely, but it really wasn't him that got it there. It was his wife, Chantel Beach here. Let's welcome Chantel Beach here. She and the senator from the 21st just celebrated 39 years of marriage, and anybody can put up with the senator from the 21st for 39 years as a special lady. I can tell you that. So, but we are here today because we have the Kingsridge Christian Academy, Kingsridge Christian School, and they have several young men here with us today that are part of the state champion basketball team that won earlier this year in the Single A Georgia High School Association. It's great to have them here, and I'm going to recognize the senator from the 21st to introduce them.
All right. Thank you, Mr. President. I'll be brief, day 40, but I just want to congratulate these young men on their state championship. I was on the founding board of Kingsridge in 2001 when John Smoltz and Jeff Foxworthy started that school, and we only had K through 8. Then we had decided to have a high school, and our first graduating class was 6 seniors. We couldn't even have fielded a basketball team. And now, in 2023, we're state champs, and I'm very proud of this school. It sits on a 100-acre campus. It's almost 1,000 students now. And Coach Martin, I'm very proud of your team. You've built a successful program. You know, we started with great academics. We now have great fine arts, and now we've got great athletics here at Kingsridge. So I'm very proud of them. My wife is director of admissions at Kingsridge. And with that, I want to introduce Coach Martin to introduce these young men and congratulate them on their state championship. Coach Martin?
I just want to say thank you for taking time for this to happen. It's humbling and honoring to be here. Feel very privileged and special. Thank you, gentlemen. I appreciate you a ton. Behind me, you will see Micah Hoover. Step forward, Micah, if you would, please. Jack Thomas, Zach Thomas, and Isaac Martin. I'm so proud of these young men. I think we accomplished something that most people thought we could not, but we give all praise and glory to our Lord and Savior. Thank you.
All right. Thank you. Thank you, Coach. Good job, Coach. We have, once again, a very special guest. Come on up here, Senator. Commissioner. We got our Commissioner of Agriculture here today. How about, let's give a round of applause for our Commissioner of Agriculture here. He's here to check on the budget, I can assure you that. So. It's always nice to have doctors of the day and recognize them for coming down here and providing their services to the people here at the Capitol. And we've got a special guest here, Dr. Delvany Head is here today, and I'm pinch hitting for Senator from the 39th right now, but she is making her second visit here. Third visit here to the Capitol. So we appreciate her service, and let's give her a warm welcome for everything she does. So.
Thank you, Mr. President, senators, and distinguished guests. Thank you for the warm welcome. It is an honor to be a part of this great tradition. It's an honor to be a part of this great tradition and serve as Doctor of the Day. It's also a privilege to serve the people of Georgia as a member of the Southeast Permanente Medical Group with Kaiser Permanente. While some of you may be familiar with our practice, we are the largest physician-owned, physician-led group in Atlanta. I practice at the Kaiser Permanente Cascade Medical Office, which is one of our 26 locations across the metro area. And I'm honored to practice in the same area where I was raised. As an Atlanta native, I've lost count how many times I've passed by this iconic building. So I'm honored to be able to serve here. It's more meaningful than words can say. So thank you again for the warm welcome. I look forward to serving you on today. And I promise there are no co-payments involved.
All right. Thank you. So, okay. All right. Are there any unanimous consents? Chair hearing none. Does any senator wish to rise on a point of personal privilege? I recognize. I recognize the senator from the 55th for a point of personal privilege. I'll get you next, Senator.
Thank you, Mr. President. I wasn't quite sure if my team was available, but I see that they are. And it is my pleasure to recognize an incredible group of men that have been serving the community since 2006 with the Truth and Union Lodge number 594. The organization prides itself on making good men better. Their values include integrity, kindness, honesty, and fairness. They do this by looking after those less fortunate, improving themselves, and living a life to be remembered for the right reasons. Over the last couple of years, they have cleaned streets, provided over 1 ton of food and food drives, volunteered in countless parades, charity walks, mentored youth, and conducted numerous school drives. Truth and Union Lodge has organized countless blood drives, book drives, back-to-school bashes, and other community-driven support drives throughout the years, providing school supplies, food, games, free haircuts, and other needed items, as well as monthly mobile food drives with New Bethel AME Church distributing an average of 9,500 pounds of food, as well as quarterly food distributions to senior citizens at Redland Creek Villas. They have been recognized as the Lodge of the Year by the Prince Hall Grand Lodge of Georgia and received recommendations from the Gwinnett County government. Today, these wonderful examples of servant leadership are here with us today, and I would like for us to give them a grand round of applause and recognition. Will the gentleman please stand up and be recognized? Thank you so much for visiting with us, and 5 of you can come down and take a picture. Look forward to seeing you on the floor. Thank you, Mr. President. I yield well.
Thank you, Senator. Recognize the Senator from the 34th.
Good morning, colleagues. I rise this morning to shine a light on someone who has been making each of us look awesome on a routine basis. Keenan Rogers, born on July 13th, 1933, in Rochester, New York, to Gordon and Vida, is a Canadian-American actor, musician, performer, and our photographer. Keenan currently serves as the Senior Broadcast Specialist with the Georgia State Press Office, where he is most often recognized in his role as a Senate photographer. Also, lifelong actor, Keenan has played many roles from stage to screen, from Wyatt Catchett in A Christmas Carol to the Tony Award-winning Alliance Theater in Sparky in Forever, played at the historic Strand Theater in Marietta, and from Baghead Thompson in The Vault, starring James Franco and Honor Hayes in upcoming film Love, Courage, and the Battle of Bushy Run. Keenan is an accomplished actor who pursued his acting career while the Senate is not in session and has enjoyed calling the Hollywood of the South his home. A songwriter and musician, Keenan plays piano, guitar, oboe, and sings. He and his siblings have music YouTube channels where they are best known for their brilliant and unique four-hand piano cover. And Roger Families has been invited to perform all over the world, from stage in Italy to TV shows in America. Keenan grew up in Dunwoody, Georgia, and his 6 siblings, one of which is a fraternal twin. He graduated from Chamblee High School and then studied at Florida State University, where he graduated with his bachelor's in economics. And I know I got a red light, but I'm gonna try to keep going. While in the Florida State, he also was a member of the world-renowned Flying High Circus, where he performed for thousands on the Russian bar, flying trapeze, and as ringmaster. Starting as an aide in the Senate press office during the 2018 elective legislative session, Keenan has served as Senate for 7 years. After serving as Senate photographer until 2020, Keenan joined the Senate press office as the full-time broadcast specialist in Augusta in 2021. He is an integral member of the team known for his dedication and excellence, his infectiously positive attitude, and his readiness to help wherever he's needed. Will you join me in congratulating our photographer, Keenan, the actor, the musician, the renowned Keenan. Come on up here. Thank you, Keenan, for all you do every single day for us. Thank you. I yield the well.
Recognize the senator from the 7th for a point of personal privilege.
Thank you, Mr. President. I rise today to discuss an important issue that I believe we should consider addressing as we finish this session and approach our session next year. The rules of the consent calendar do not provide sufficient opportunities for senators to individually object to pieces of legislation. I respect and support local control, but the current rules are flawed because of the often bizarrely drawn districts we represent. In my own delegation, there are those who live far outside of my county, several counties away, yet have the ability to object to legislation that would disproportionately impact my county because their district contains 1, 2, or 3 precincts in my home county. That's not right. That's not local control. Further, there are bills that impact other counties in disproportionately partisan ways that I object to purely on the basis of political fairness. Yet, I do not have the opportunity to ask to vote on them. And it is my hope that when we reconvene next January, this body will consider changing the rules of the local consent calendar to be fair to each individual senator. We are a deliberative body, but I do not believe the current rules provide sufficient opportunities for all senators to weigh in equally on local bills. Thank you, Mr. President. I yield the well.
Recognize the senator from the 6th.
Thank you, Mr. President. Colleagues, on March 27th, 2023, which was on Monday, a mass shooting occurred at the Covenant School, a parochial school in Nashville, Tennessee. 6 people, 3 children, and 3 staff members were killed in a calculated attack where the attacker used an AR-style rifle. At this time, I'd ask for a moment of silence in remembrance of the victims.
The senator has asked for a moment of silence. The Senate would stand in a moment of silence.
Thank you. Colleagues, I remind us that we have a crisis in this country. The easy access and lack of accountability related to guns is literally killing our children. In fact, all of you know, but guns are the #1 cause of death related to children. And we also have a crisis related to mental health, which this chamber and this General Assembly has done work on over the last several years. But I encourage us to tackle both of these issues, two issues that were not addressed in this chamber this year. Next year, I encourage us to tackle the crisis on guns and the crisis, further attack the crisis that we have with our mental health system to ensure that we do all that we can to protect our children in schools and in our communities. Thank you, Mr. President. I yield the well.
Recognize the senator from the 29th for appointed personal privilege.
Thank you, Mr. President. Senators, I rise today to remember yesterday. While it was a day off in this chamber, it was a special day to me because it was the 81st birthday of Elizabeth Cobb Robertson, who 16 years ago left this earth when the heavens opened up and took her from her only son. And I never let a day go by that I don't think about my mother, think about the sacrifices she made for me, and to remember in everything I do because of the character and values that she instilled in me. And growing up as a young boy, always was particular to mind my P's and Q's when my mother walked into the room. But 16 years ago, my mother was transformed, so I know that any room I'm in, my mother's there watching. And so today, I want to say because of yesterday, happy birthday to my mother. Thank you. Mr. President, I yield the well.
Recognize the senator from the 44th for appointed personal privilege.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. Colleagues, I rise today to recognize the life of Mr. Lorenzo Lindsay of Atlanta, Georgia, and who passed away last week. Mr. Lindsay was from Atlanta, Georgia, and belonged to Warren United Methodist Church here in Atlanta. He was also the brother of Mr. Michael Lindsay, our doorkeeper there to the right, and also Reverend Lewis Lindsay, one of my former pastors. And I just want to recognize his life and his legacy today. And also a family that I went to high school with at Fountain High in Forest Park years ago. That was Reverend Harold Gray, who lost his son, daughter-in-law, and the granddaughter. And the senator from the 6th just told us about gun violence, but their deaths is devastating to the family, to all the friends and their supporters. They lived in Conyers, Georgia, a beautiful, beautiful family. So, Mr. President, I would ask at this time if we would recognize and do a moment of silent prayer for Mr. Corey Gray, Mr. Mika Gray, and little Miss Jolita Gray, and their untimely death. And they're the family members of Reverend Harold Gray. And also silent prayer for Mr. Lorenzo Lindsay. And please let the doorkeeper, Mr. Michael Lindsay, his brother, know how much we care about him, about he and his family.
Amen.
Amen. Thank you very much.
Recognize the senator from the 35th. Senator from the 35th.
Thank you, Mr. President. Senators, it has been a tedious 40 days for me and for some of us, but we made it through. So happy Sine Die to all of you. But I want to particularly thank all of you who have helped me navigate through these 40 days. I appreciate it. I have mobility problems, but they are temporary, so I hope that I won't come back next year with the same problem. But I know I won't come back with the beep, beep noise because I got on the scooter this morning and the light didn't come on, but it was charged and it doesn't beep anymore. So thank whoever did that for me as well. So thank you very much to the doorkeeper that went the extra mile, Dr. Turnbull. I found out he's a Harvard graduate. How about that? We don't know who's all around us, do we? But he's been excellent in waiting on us. Thank you very much, Mr. President, for allowing me to speak here at my desk and get through this. Today I was supposed to recognize rapper Rick Ross, and he's on the other side, so he's not up there. He's the one who this week had the bulls in his that broke away, and we're going to the neighbor's house in the old Holyfield mansion. So if any of his people are up there, Rick Ross, we welcome you. And thank you again, Mr. President, and everybody in the Senate. Thank you very much for helping me. I appreciate it.
All right. Thank you, Senator. All right. If there's no more points of personal privilege, we'll move on. You have a consent calendar of privilege resolutions before you. Does any senator wish to remove a resolution from the consent calendar? Hearing none. Is there objection to the adoption of the resolution on the consent calendar? Chair hears none. The resolution on the consent calendar is adopted. Secretary, read the captions on the local bill.
Senate Resolution 427 by Senator Brasso, the 28th, a resolution recognizing the positive economic impact of golf on the state of Georgia and for other purposes. Senate Resolution 428 by Senator C. of the 34th and others, a resolution recognizing and commending Keenan Rogers and for other purposes. Senate Resolution 429 by Senator Strickland of the 17th and others, a resolution commending Director Fred Mays and for other purposes. That completes the order, Mr. President.
Is there objection to the adoption of the resolutions on the consent calendar? Chair hears none. The resolutions on the consent calendar are adopted. Are there any motions to withdraw and commit? You have, we've already done this part. You have before you a consent calendar of local bills. Ms. Secretary, have any objections been filed to any of the bills on the local consent calendar?
Mr. President, Senator C. of the 34th and others have filed an objection to House Bill 678.
There is objection to House Bill 678. This House Bill 678 will be withdrawn from the consent calendar and be taken up later on this evening. Is there objection to agreeing to the report of committee on state and local government operations, which is favorable to the passage of the bill on the local consent calendar? Chair hears none. The report of the committee is agreed to. Questions on the passage of the bill on the local consent calendar? All those in favor will vote yea, opposed nay. Secretary, unlock the machines. Right, Senator from the 53rd, for what purpose do you rise?
To excuse the senator from the 8th.
All right, well, the vote's already started, so, but he will be excused further. On the passage of the bill, yeas are 52, the nays are 0. This bill, having received the local consent calendar, having received the requisite constitutional majority, is therefore passed. We will now take up House Bill 678, which was objected by the senator from the 34th. Senator from the 36th, for what purpose do you rise?
I'd like to ask for unanimous consent to excuse the senator from the 37th.
Without objection, the senator from the 37th is excused. So this is the House Bill 678 is the local bill that the senator from the 34th objected to. Secretary, read the caption.
House Bill 578 by Representative Scott of the 76th and others, a bill to be entitled an act to amend an act creating the Clayton County Board of Commissioners, approved February 8, 1955 as amended, so as to provide a code of ethics to establish a board of ethics. The Committee of the Senate on Slogo recommends that this bill do pass, respectfully submitted by Senator Ginn of the 47th District Chairman. That completes the order, Mr. President.
Recognize the senator from the 34th to speak to the motion.
Thank you, Mr. President, members of the Senate. I rise to ask you all to join me and the senator from the 44th to vote no on this local legislation. We all know all politics is local, so please join with me and the senator from the 44th as the representatives from the county and help us vote no on this. Please. Thank you. I yield the will.
Senator has yielded well. Senator from the 47th, for what purpose do you rise?
I had a question for the senator.
She has yielded the well, Senator. Does any other senator wish to speak for or against the measure? Chair hears none. Is there objection to the previous question being ordered? Chair hears none. Previous question is ordered. Is there objection to agreeing to the report of the committee which is favorable to the passage of the bill? Chair hears none. The report of the committee is agreed to. Is there objection to the main question being ordered? Chair hears none. The main question is ordered. Questions on the passage of the bill. All those in favor, yea. All those against, nay. Secretary and Lochner-Shing. On the passage of the bill, the yeas are 4, the nays are 49. This bill has failed to receive the requisite constitutional majority and is therefore lost. All right, let me get everybody's attention. It's a little loud in here. Let's bring it to order. I know everybody's excited, but it's a little too loud in here. No, we got a lot of folks in here, but it's time to start the rules calendar, so. Let me have your attention, please. All right. Ready to start the rules calendar now, so. We're taking bills from the table. We'll go with the what was left on the table from day 39. We'll start down that row. Recognize the senator from the 50th for a motion.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move that we remove House Bill 416 from the table.
Senator has moved that we remove 416 from the table. Secretary, read the caption.
House Bill 416 by Representative Silcox of the 53rd and others, a bill to be entitled an act to amend Article 3 of Chapter 4 of Title 26 of the Official Code of Georgia Annotated, relating to the practice of pharmacy so as to authorize qualified pharmacy technicians to administer certain vaccines, to provide for a definition, to provide for conditions, to provide for requirements for qualification, to provide requirements for the supervising pharmacist. The Committee of the Senate on Health and Human Services recommends that this bill do pass. Respectfully submitted by Senator Watson of the 1st District Chairman. That completes the order, Mr. President.
Recognize the senator from the 50th. Speak to the measure.
Thank you, Mr. President. Today I bring you House Bill 416. What this bill does is it will authorize a qualified pharmacy technician to administer certain vaccines to those who are 18 years or older. The impetus behind this bill is during the pandemic, the PrEP Act. Under the PrEP Act, a declaration was passed that allowed pharmacy technicians to administer vaccines. Those that have been trained to do it will be able to continue to do it if we pass this. And I'm happy to yield to any questions.
You have no questions, Senator.
Thank you, Mr. President. I yield the well.
Does any other senator wish to speak for or against the measure? Chair hears none. Is there objection to the previous question being ordered? Chair hears none. The previous question is ordered. Is there objection to agreeing to the report of committee which is favorable to the passage of the bill? Chair hears none. The report of committee is agreed to. Is there objection to the main question being ordered? Chair hears none. The main question is ordered. The question is on the passage of the bill. All those in favor vote yea. Opposed, nay. Unlock the machine. On the passage of the bill, the yeas are 49, the nays are 3. This bill, having received the requisite constitutional majority, is therefore passed. Recognize the senator from the 49th. Hold on. No, recognize the senator from the 23rd. Senator from the 23rd, do you want to present your bill? Senator from the 23rd, do you want to present your bill?
Thank you, Mr. President. I ask that House Bill 319 be removed from the table.
Senators move that 319 be removed from the table. Secretary, read the caption.
House Bill 319 by Representative Martin of the 49th, a bill to be entitled an act to amend Article 7 of Chapter 3 of Title 20 of the Official Code of Georgia Annotated, relating to scholarships, loans, and grants, so as to abolish the Georgia Higher Education Assistance Corporation, to provide for the transfer of outstanding obligations and liabilities and assets of such corporation. The Committee of the Senate on Higher Education recommends that this bill do pass, respectively submitted by Senator Hickman of the 4th District Chairman. That completes
Recognize the senator from the
Senator Hickman of the 4th and others offer the following amendment, Amendment 1, to amend House Bill 319 by replacing line 8 with the following: make conforming changes to amend Article 2 of Chapter 3 of Title 20 of the Official Code of Georgia Annotated, relating to the Board of Regents and University System, so as to require approval for the General Assembly for certain tuition and fee increases to provide for related matters. That completes the order, Mr. President.
Without objection, I recognize the senator from the 23rd.
Thank you, Mr. President. This is a straightforward bill which eliminates the Georgia Higher Education Assistance Corporation. This corporation is no longer necessary. It was a federal program that's been discontinued. We do this at the request of the Georgia Student Finance Commission. I'm happy to answer any questions on the underlying bill. Hearing none, may I speak to the amendment?
Yes, sir.
All right, there is an amendment. It's a friendly amendment. We appreciate the Chairman of the Higher Education bringing the amendment. What this does is it requires that there be no increase in cost of tuition or fees in any academic year of more than 3% for the preceding academic year by a university system unit unless there is a approved joint resolution by the General Assembly. I ask for your favorable consideration of the amendment and the underlying bill. No questions? I'll yield the well.
You have one question, Senator. Senator from the 2nd.
Absolutely. Does the senator yield? Absolutely. To my friend from Savannah.
Senator, on this joint resolution of the General Assembly, would that resolution require a 2/3 vote, or would that be a resolution by just simple majority?
My understanding, sir, is it's a simple majority. Now, I may be corrected. I would defer to legal counsel, but my understanding is it's a simple majority of joint resolution.
You have no questions, Senator.
Thank you. Yield well.
Sorry. Senator from the 4th, would you like to speak?
I would like to ask a question of the bill author, if that's possible.
It's all up to the senator.
Parliamentary inquiry.
Yeah, it's all up to, he's yielded the well, though, Senator. So, but you're welcome to speak in the well if you'd like to.
Parliamentary inquiry.
State your inquiry.
Is this constitutional under Georgia's Constitution because of the authority that it gives the Board of Regents to control the university system?
Senator would have to ask the author offline then to get that answer.
All right, thank you.
Does any other senator wish to speak for or against the measure? Chair hears none. Is there objection to the previous question being ordered? Chair hears none. The previous question is ordered. Question is on the adoption of amendment number 1. Is there objection to the adoption of amendment number 1? Hearing none, amendment 1 is adopted. Is there objection to the agreeing to the report of the committee which is favorable to the passage of the bill? Chair hears none. The report of the committee is agreed to. Is there objection to the main question being ordered? Chair hears none, and the main question is ordered. Question on the passage of the bill as amended. All those in favor vote yea. Opposed, nay. Secretary, unlock the machine. On the passage of the bill, the yeas are 53, the nays are 0. This bill, having received the requisite constitutional majority, is therefore passed as amended. Recognize the senator from the 30th for a motion.
Thank you, Mr. President. I ask that we lift HB 514 off the table.
Senator has requested HB 514 be taken off the table. Secretary, read the caption.
House Bill 114 by Representative Washburn of the 144th and others, a bill to be entitled an act to amend Chapter 66 of Title 36 of the Official Code of Georgia annotated, relating to zoning procedures so as to provide for the length and renewal of moratoriums related to zoning decisions, to provide for legislative findings, to provide procedures for the levy collection use and waiver of fees related to zoning decisions and related permits. The Committee of the Senate on Economic Development and Tourism recommends that this bill do pass by substitute, respectfully submitted by Senator Beach of the 21st District Chairman. Senate Committee on Economic Development and Tourism offers the following substitute to House Bill 514, a bill to be entitled an act to amend Chapter 66 of Title 36 of the Official Code of Georgia annotated, relating to zoning procedures so as to provide for the length and renewal of certain moratoriums relating to zoning decisions, to provide for legislative findings. Senator Dugan of the 30th offers the following amendment, Amendment 1, to amend the Senate substitute to House Bill 514 by inserting after title on line 5 the following: to amend Chapter 71 of Title 36 of the Official Code of Georgia annotated, relating to development impact fees so as to modify the required revenue source for a development project involving workforce housing. That completes the order, Mr. President.
Without objection, I recognize the senator from the 30th. Speak to the measure.
Thank you, Mr. President. If I can, I'm going to speak to the underlying bill and the amendment while I'm up here to save a little bit of time. 514 just does away with the preventing people from, I just went blank on what it's called. Moratoriums. There we go. I got to moratorium when I looked at the senator from the 25th, and I went, moratorium came to mind for some reason there. Okay, the moratoriums into perpetuity. What you got to do is 6 months, you can have a moratorium. It comes off for 6 months. You review it, and then it can be voted to go back on again. There are a list of exceptions. If you look on, starting on line 23 all the way down to 40, if there's any of these categories that come into play, then the gap in the moratorium can be waived there. But it just, that, and I'm going to shift to the amendment, and then I'm going to wrap the two back together then. What you see on the amendment, if you remember Senate Bill 136, we passed it out of here a while back. 136 is the one that allows local municipalities to waive impact fees on developments that are for workforce housing. It's not a mandate. It's an allowance. It passed out of here. It passed out of the committee unanimously. It passed out of 3 committees in the House unanimously, which is a feat in and of itself. And then it kind of just hung out there. So we have, because it's a common area and we're trying to improve workforce housing across the state, where we identify across the state that is one of the leading issues that we're having. We put the two together, and subject to your questions.
You have no questions, Senator.
Thank you. I ask for your favorable consideration. I yield the well.
Does any other senator wish to speak for or against the measure? Chair hearing none. Is there objection to previous question being ordered? Hearing none, we're going to take up amendment number 1. Is there objection to amendment number 1? Chair hears none. Amendment number 1 is adopted. Questions on the adoption of the committee substitute as amended. Is there objection to the adoption of the committee substitute as amended? Hearing none, committee substitute as amended is adopted. Is there objection to agreeing to the report of the committee which is favorable to the passage of the bill? Chair hears none. The report of the committee is agreed to. Is there objection to the main question being ordered? Chair hears none. The main question is ordered. Questions on the passage of the bill by substitute. All those in favor vote yea. All opposed, nay. Secretary, unlock the machine. On the passage of the bill, the yeas are 42 and the nays are 12. This bill, having received the requisite constitutional majority, is therefore passed. Senator from the 48th, for what purpose do you rise?
Mr. President, I ask that we blow, unanimous consent to blow House Bill 374 off the table.
Is this your first bill, Senator? This
No,
is
Mr.
the leaf
President,
blower.
I had
This is
the,
the leaf blower bill, right?
Yes, sir, it is back again.
Well, I tell you what. The senator from the 48th has asked that HB 374 be taken off the table. Secretary, read the caption. I'm sorry, Senator. Recognize Senator from the 42nd.
I would like to move that we agree as amended to HB 374.
Is that agree? Senator, you mind stepping? Secretary, read the caption.
House Bill 374 by Representative Thomas of the 21st and others, a bill to be entitled an act to amend Chapter 36 of Title 36 of the Official Code of Georgia annotated, relating to municipal annexation of territory so as to repeal certain provisions relating to authority, procedures, identification, and status of lands relative to municipal de-annexation. The Committee of the Senate on Sligo General recommends that this bill do pass by substitute, respectively submitted by Senator Ginn of the 47th District Chairman. Senate Committee on State and Local Government Operations offers the following substitute to House Bill 374, a bill to be entitled an act to amend Titles 36 and 46 of the Official Code of Georgia annotated relating to local government and public utilities and public transportation, respectively, so as to prohibit certain regulations and policies concerning the use of certain equipment, to prohibit local regulations that create differing standards for or distinguish gasoline-powered leaf blowers from similar equipment, to provide for a short title, provide for legislative findings, to prohibit governmental entities from adopting any policy that prohibits the connection. Senator Setzler of the 37th and others offer the following amendment to amend the Senate substitute to House Bill 374 by inserting after circumstances on line 14 the following: to amend Article 2 of Chapter 5 of Title 36 of the Official Code of Georgia annotated relating to county governing authorities so as to prohibit county governing authorities from redistricting or creating their election districts. That completes the order, Mr. President.
Recognize Senator from the 48th to speak to the bill.
Thank you, Mr. President. House Bill 374 passed Monday evening with a vote of 103 to 67, which means a significant number of Democrats supported this bill. If you're doing the math, that is 62.6% of the House chamber. There are a few differences between the original SB 145, and the infamous Leaf Blower Act, and this bill, which are as follows. Number one, both bills, SB 145 and this bill, HB 374, both have the Leaf Blower Act. We've, I think, said everything there is to say about this one. Number two, this bill before you now incorporates House Bill 374 by Representative Brad Thomas to include what is generally being referred to as the Mableton de-annexation bill. It specifies that it will not include more than 10 parcels of property, that it must be in an area that is typically found on a fringe of boundaries, and must be approved by all owners of the surrounding land. This has been approved by ACCG and GMA. Number three, both versions now have HB 438 by Representative Victor Anderson to include the preemption, fuel choice bill for gas appliances for homes and businesses. The new language closes a loophole which would allow cities to use building codes or other ordinances to limit natural gas appliance in homes and businesses. The original SB 145, which passed out of this chamber several weeks ago, now also includes 1, 2, 3 additional bills that were done so without my authorization. That's what we all came to start calling it as the Feliz Navidad Christmas tree bill. This is not that version. What some folks have referred to as the Green New Deal is not on this version before you. This is a clean bill, and it does not contain any uncertainties or questions on germaneness. We have a vast number of bills before us today, and there is talk, as you've just heard, about several amendments being put forward. I can tell you that this bill before you has been vetted by countless committees. And when I just spoke this morning to the original author of this bill, to the chairman of the Government Affairs Committee in the House, and to the chief legal counsel in the Speaker's House, they have all asked that we please keep this bill clean and free of amendments so that we can move along and get it taken care of. I think considering what we have before us, it would be incumbent upon us to vote for this bill. If there are any amendments, I will be opposing them. And with that, Mr. President, I yield the well.
You do have questions, Senator. Senator from the 33rd, but you're welcome to yield the well too, Senator. It's your choice.
Senator from the 33rd?
Senator from the 33rd.
Thank you, Mr. President. Does the Senator yield?
Yes, I do.
You mentioned Mableton. Could you explain to me a little more what you were talking about in terms of Mableton and being able to de-annex?
Certainly. If you will go to Section 3 of the bill, Section 78 through 90, authority is granted to the government or municipality to de-annex an area or areas of the existing corporate limits in accordance with procedures. Read further. All the owners of all the land except the owners of any public street, road, highway, or right-of-way proposed to de-annex containing complete description of the lands, provided no more than 10 parcels. So we're talking a very, very small area. The purpose of this, Senator, is to allow fringe areas, very small fringe areas, to de-annex from a city back to the county if it behooves the city and the county to do so.
Will the Senator further yield?
Yes, sir.
Is this your first bill?
I'm sorry?
Is this your first bill in the Senate?
No, sir, it is not.
Okay. Thank you.
Senator, you have no further questions.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Recognize the Senator from the 42nd. For what purpose do you rise?
Point of order, Mr. President.
State your order.
Isn't it true that the Senate committee added several pieces of legislation to this bill, and that the Senate should not consider HB 374 because the Senate committee substitute to HB 374 is not germane to the House bill because de-annexation is not related to leaf blowers?
Senator is entitled to her opinion, but as the author said, this thing has a number of subject matters that I do feel like are germane to the underlying issue.
Further point of order, Mr. President.
State your order.
Isn't it true that the Senate should also not consider the Senate committee substitute to House Bill 374 because it also violates the Georgia Constitution, Article 3, Section 5, Paragraph 3, which says, "No bill shall pass which refers to more than one subject matter or contains matter different from what is expressed in the title thereof," and de-annexation is not related to leaf blowers.
Actually, the House bill, the House version, does speak of de-annexation in House Bill 374. And I think but there are two different measures pertaining to the Senator's underlying bill that are on the rules calendar, and I think you might be referring to that other bill, Senator.
Mr. President, point of order. It's my understanding that the de-annexation bill is the leaf blower bill, which came out of here as SB 145, was added in Senate committee in SLOGO to HB 374. And under the Georgia Constitution, as well as Senate Rule 3-1.1b, the Senate is not in a position to be able to consider that because that amendment done by the Senate Local Government Operations Committee is not germane to the underlying bill as it passed the House, and therefore it is out of order.
Senator, I respectfully disagree because I think we're still talking about two different measures. However, you're welcome to object or try to amend this bill now on the floor, or you're always welcome to vote no on the bill as well. So,
Point of order, Mr. President.
yes.
I respectfully appeal the ruling of the chair because de-annexations and leaf blowers are not related to each other, and it violates the Georgia Constitution for this body to consider them in one bill.
Senator has that right. All those in favor of the The chair has ruled that the subject matter is germane. Senator from the 42nd is challenging the ruling of the chair. So the question is, shall the ruling of the chair be sustained? And it takes 29 votes to reverse the chair. So all those in favor will vote. Recognize the senator from the 42nd.
Thank you so much, Mr. President. The parliamentary order question I'm putting before the body as well is dealing with the two subject matter rule as well as the violation of germaneness. Do we need to have two different votes on both of those? Because I'm objecting under the grounds of germaneness, under the Senate rules, as well as under the two subject matter rule in the Georgia Constitution, which is also encapsulated in Rule 3-1.1b of our Senate
Senator,
rules.
the two subject matters is a legal issue, not a parliamentary issue. So all those in favor of the senator's motion shall be allowed to vote. And all those who agree with the chair vote yea. All those who disagree with the senator from the 42nd vote nay. Secretary, unlock the machine. Recognize the senator from the 43rd. For what purpose do you rise?
Parliamentary inquiry.
State your
Is it not
inquiry.
true that this is about the ruling and not about the senator from the 42nd's motion?
Senator knows what we speak.
Oh.
On the appeal of the ruling of the chair, the yeas are 33 and the nays are 22, and the ruling of the chair is sustained. Does any other senator wish to speak for or against the measure? Chair hearing none. Is there objection to the previous question being ordered? Chair hears none, and the previous question is ordered. Question. Question is on the adoption of Amendment 1. Is there objection to adoption of Amendment 1? Senator from the 37th, what purpose do you rise?
Mr. President, I'd like unanimous consent to withdraw the amendment.
Senator has asked for unanimous consent to withdraw the amendment. Is there objection? Without objection, the amendment is withdrawn. Senator from the 2nd, for what purpose do you rise? I waive. You waive. So, where are we? On the adoption of the committee substitute, those in favor will vote yea. Opposed? Is there objection to the adoption of the committee substitute first? Without objection, the committee substitute is adopted. Is there objection to agreeing to the report of the committee which is favorable to the passage of the bill? Chair hears none. The report of the committee is agreed to. Is there objection to the main question being ordered? Chair hears none. The main question is ordered. Questions on the passage of the bill by substitute. All those in favor vote yea. Opposed, nay. Secretary, unlock the machine. On the passage of the bill, the yeas are 32, the nays are 20. This bill, having received the requisite constitutional majority, is therefore passed by substitute. All right, we're going to take up some special actions right now. I recognize the senator from the 32nd.
Thank you, Mr. President. I ask for unanimous consent that the Senate agree to the House substitute for Senate Bill 155.
Senators ask that the Senate agree to Senate Bill, the House's version of Senate Bill 155. Secretary, read the caption.
Senate Bill 155 by Senator Kirkpatrick of the 32nd and others, a bill to be entitled an act to amend Part 1 of Article 4 of Chapter 11 of Title 16 of the Official Code of Georgia annotated relating to general provisions relative to dangerous instrumentalities and practices, so as to revise provisions relating to harming a law enforcement animal, to provide for the offenses of interfering with or harming a public safety animal or search and rescue animal. The House offers the following substitute to Senate Bill 155, a bill to be entitled an act to amend Part 1 of Article 4 of Chapter 11 of Title 16 of the Official Code of Georgia annotated, relating to general provisions relative to dangerous instrumentalities and practices, so as to revise provisions relating to harming a law enforcement animal, to provide for the offenses of interfering with or harming a public safety animal or search and rescue animal. That completes the order, Mr. President.
Recognize the senator from 32nd.
Thank you, Mr. President. This bill relates to clarifying the law on cruelty to canine animals. This bill has now passed the House unanimously and needs to come back for an agree because we removed the word taunt from line 60. I look forward to the Senate's agreeing to protecting these important team members and would ask for a green vote. And unless there are questions, I'll yield the will.
You do have a question, Senator. Senator from the 53rd.
Thank you, Mr. President. Will the senator yield?
Be glad to yield to my friend from the 53rd.
Senator, do you think the language may be a little too broad? It says to conspire to harass or conspire to tamper. Don't you think that'd be very difficult to prove or disprove in court?
Actually, Senator, if you look ahead of that on line 59, it talks about intentionally. So proving intent is something that prosecutors do all the time. And if you look at line 60, that covers public safety animals that are not on duty. So, for example, if somebody went to find the kennel where the police animals were kept and threw a piece of poisoned meat over it, would cover that. And then the next line, 61, covers animals that are actually on duty. So I don't think that would be hard for an animal prosecutor to prove.
Will the senator further yield?
Sure.
So you said intent, but it says should have known that the animal. So how do you have intent if you don't even know that that's a service animal?
Thank you, Senator, for the question. Know or should have known is something that's used all the time in prosecuting cases, and it relates to the reasonable person standard, which is a known term in the legal world.
Okay, thank you, Senator.
You have no questions, Senator.
Thank you. I yield.
Does any of the senator wish to speak for or against the measure? Chair hears none. And the senator has moved that the Senate agree to the House substitute on Senate Bill 155. All those in favor will vote yea. All those opposed, nay. Secretary, unlock the machine. On the passage of the bill, the yeas are 43, the nays are 12, and this bill has received the requisite constitutional majority and therefore is passed. Senate, stand at ease. We're trying to get this equipment back up and running.
Test check.
I'm going to recognize the senator. You tell me and I'll repeat it for you. All right, Senate, come back to order. We're going to have to quiet down in here, guys. This is way too loud. You can't hear what's going on up here, so let's come back to order. Yeah. Senators move that the Senate insists on the Senate's position on House Bill 189. Secretary, read the caption.
House Bill 189 by Representative Meeks of the 178th and others, a bill to be entitled an act to amend Article 2 of Chapter 6 of Title 32 of the Official Code of Georgia Annotated, relating to dimensions and weight of vehicles and loads so as to provide for an allowable variance for weight limitations upon a vehicle or load, to repeal certain exceptions which allow for excess weight for vehicles and loads. The Senate offers the following substitute to House Bill 189, a bill to be entitled an act to amend Article 2 of Chapter 6 of Title 32 of the Official Code of Georgia Annotated, relating to dimensions and weights of vehicles and loads so as to provide for an allowable variance for weight limitations upon a vehicle or load hauling certain commodities within a certain range in areas of the state. That completes the order, Mr. President.
Recognize Senator from the 8th. Speak to the measure.
Thank you, Mr. President. This is our truck weights bill. This is House Bill 189, this Senate substitute that passed out of our committee and passed out of this chamber with 44 votes. I just ask that senators stick with me and vote to insist.
You have no questions, Senator? You have no questions. The Senate has insisted on its position on House Bill 189 without objection. We'll send it back over to the House. Moving on to Senate Bill 560. I recognize the senator from the 52nd for a motion.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move that the Senate lift Senate Bill 56 off the table.
Senators move that Senate Bill 56 be taken off the table. Secretary, read the caption. Senator from the 56.
I said lift it off the table. My motion should have been to agree to the House substitute to Senate Bill 56.
Senator, you are correct. He is still trying to find the bill so he can read the caption, but the senator has moved for an agree on House Bill 56.
Senate Bill 56 by Senator Hofstetler of the 52nd and others. Senate Bill 56 by Senator Hofstetler of the 52nd and others, a bill to be entitled an act to amend Chapter 5 of Title 48 of the Official Code of Georgia annotated relating to ad valorem taxation so as to require the State Revenue Commissioner to contract with the Board of the Employees Retirement System of Georgia to offer certain county tax commissioners the option to participate in a state-administered deferred compensation plan. The House offers the following substitute to Senate Bill 56, a bill to be entitled an act to amend Title 48 of the Official Code of Georgia annotated, relating to revenue and taxation so as to require the State Revenue Commissioner to contract with the Board of Trustees of the Employees Retirement System of Georgia to offer certain county tax commissioners who are not eligible for any retirement system or county 401k or 457B plan the option to participate in a state-administered deferred compensation plan. That completes the order, Mr. President.
Recognize the senator from the 52nd to speak to the measure.
Thank you, Mr. President. I do want to spend a little time on this because a lot of this subject matter has been vetted through the Finance Committee and passed out unanimously, but did not get through the main body that's then been attached over there. So you'll see Senate Bill 56 in your special book. If you go to the other book and look at 454, that has the fiscal note. So just the first book if you trust me, but if you want to trust and verify, get the other book out too. I'll try to explain this pretty well. So this original bill was simply for the tax commissioners. There's about 30 or so rural counties that don't have any kind of a retirement. They're the only constitutional officers that don't. They bring in $1 billion, $2 billion to the state, and this sets out a simple 401k match for them, no defined benefit, defined contribution. We've already passed that out. if you go to the next section in there, then you're going to see about the IRC conformity that has also been looked at here. But then if you go to section 2.2, you're going to see about the income tax, where we're changing the structure a little bit. That's on page 6 of the bill, I believe. So when you go to that, we had a tax cut that ratcheted down last year. The Senate's position was that we should do standard deductions. The House at the time wanted personal exemptions. I think after a year of this, they've looked at it and agreed that standard deductions are the way to go. So we had looked at accelerating those standard deductions, but we're going to put them in there now as a full 12 and 24,000. This will help people at the bottom because it will be the first 12 and 24,000 that will be exempt. The second thing it does is it eliminates the marriage penalty. We also are changing the 5-year look back on this 10%, 0.10% decrease from a 3-year look back from a 5-year look back to a 3-year look back. And then because of another change where we're letting people that itemize on the federal return, they can itemize or do the standard on the state. Those that itemize by losing the personal exemption would actually have a tax increase. So there's a $300 credit for those people to make sure they don't get a tax increase in the changeover. And then the last item we talk about is something called force de jour. This deals with, well, actually there's 2 more items, but this one deals with the fact that COVID would be added to the list of disasters. There's a company that probably has $1 billion investment that may not make it because of COVID. They may make it, it's going to be really close, and so it would really just help this one company, but would let them extend the period a little bit longer to get those credits due to COVID, which, you know, has certainly hurt businesses as well as, you know, hurricanes and things like that do, natural disasters. And then the last thing we're doing is we're decoupling the accelerated depreciation that we've done since 2022. We've done accelerated depreciation. The federal government's changing that. We're saying we'll continue to do the accelerated depreciation. This really doesn't change anything except what year the taxpayer gets it in. They'll get it quicker in ours. They're going to get it eventually, either way, but this would change it to that. Now then, another section that has not gone through the Senate but did go through the Finance Committee and passed out is digital downloads. This has been looked at for some time for parity, just as we did with the Marketplace Facilitator. Digital downloads does not apply to any streaming monthly service. This is just the end user, whether you get it through a book or through something you keep permanently, it would apply in this case. And again, that passed out through the committee. Now, if you go to the fiscal note 454, it will have everything in there except the digital download. And so if you go to page 2 of the fiscal note, for the 3 people that are following along or whatever, just in case I make sure I cover it for you, it's accurate except when you get to 27 and 28, there's an additional line for rate reduction. That was going to happen anyway. That's not new money. And then according to the fiscal note for 170, which is not in here because that's where the digital download was, it's 43.7 the first year, 95.3, 102 million and 87 million and 107 million to the positive side. So it lessens the effect of the revenue. So I know when the House sends over this many issues together, it's a little frustrating to try to keep up with all of them, but I'll certainly be glad to answer any questions. I will say that every one of these issues went through the Finance Committee, we vetted it, and all passed it out. If there's no questions, I'll yield the well.
You do have one question, Senator. Senator from the 19th.
Thank you, Senator. Do you yield for a series of questions?
I yield.
I know this is a big bill. I just want to walk through a few things and make sure I'm clear on it. On the tax commissioner piece, you said it's a 401k. Who pays the match?
The match is going to be paid by the state. The cost is going to be about $225,000. I understand there's certainly a legitimate argument about who would pay that, the counties or the state. They collect money for both entities. This is only about 30 rural counties that have no program at all. And my belief was that the minimal cost of, a $250,000 with all the stuff that we do around here was worth it to be able to say that every single constitutional officer in the state has some form of a pension plan. Again, this one's not a defined benefit, it's only a contribution.
Senator, further yield?
Yes.
What stops those who are on another plan from now coming onto the state plan, which would obviously, if there's only 30, you say 30 is 225,000. We now multiply that by, I guess, 4, that's 120,000. Multiply by 5, you're going to have what, right at 1.
There's language in the bill that says if you're on another plan, you're not eligible for this plan. And furthermore, the House added to make it clear that if your county offers a retirement plan, then you have to get off of this. Okay. So if anything, I think it would go the other way.
Will the Senator yield for a few more questions?
Sure.
On the state income tax reduction, can you tell me what the savings to taxpayers would be from this version of the plan?
Well, the savings would be in year one a total of $94.7 million, but you've got to add back in 170, which is not in here, which is 43.7 on digital download. So it's going to be about 50 million.
The savings to taxpayers from the income tax is going to be about 94 million. Then
Correct.
the Digital Parity Act, I guess, adds about 40. You said
43.7 million, according to the fiscal note.
And that just provides parity between digital downloads that are maintained for ownership and their older medium. Is that a fair way to?
Right. It's fair to say whichever way you sell something should be taxed equally.
Thank you, Senator.
Recognize the senator from the second.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'd like to ask for a point of order according to Senate Rule 7-1.10 on the House substitute to SB 56 to the germaneness of this bill. We're dealing with income tax, retirements, as well as digital downloads. Mr. President, would you issue a ruling on that, on the germaneness of this House amended Senate bill?
Senator, you're entitled to vote no on this at the appropriate time. You have no further questions.
Thank you. I ask your favorable consideration.
Does any other senator wish to speak for or against the measure? Chair hearing none. All those in favor of the senator's motion to agree to the House position on Senate Bill 56 will vote yea, opposed nay. Secretary, unlock the machine. On the passage of the bill, the yeas are 49, the nays are 5, and this measure has received the requisite constitutional majority and is passed. Recognize the senator from the 28th.
Mr. President, I ask for unanimous consent to lift SR 175 from the table. Mr. President, I withdraw that. I move to agree to Senate Resolution 175.
Senator has moved that the Senate agree to House substitute on Senate Resolution 175. Secretary, read the caption.
Senate Resolution 175 by Senator Brass of the 28th and others. A resolution creating the Joint Study Committee on Dual Enrollment for highly skilled talent at younger ages and for other purposes. The House offers the following substitute to Senate Resolution 175. A resolution creating the Joint Study Committee on Dual Enrollment for highly skilled talent at younger ages, creating the Joint Study Committee on Service Delivery Strategy. That completes the order, Mr. President.
Recognize Senator from the 28th.
Thank you, Mr. President, members of this body. I think we can all agree that we've got an immediate need in this state for more highly skilled talent across multiple sectors. In this body, in this state, we've led the way in creating a flexible system combining dual enrollment programs and workforce development systems to help fill the void and deficiencies in this high-skilled workforce. So this resolution simply forms a joint study committee on dual enrollment for highly skilled talent at younger ages. And I urge your favorable consideration for this fine joint study committee that will lead the way. Thank you. I yield the well.
You have no questions, Senator. Senators yielded the well. Any other senator wish to speak for or against the measure? Chair hears none. The senator has moved that the Senate agree to the House position on Senate Resolution 175. All those in favor vote yea, opposed nay. Secretary, unlock the machine. On the passage of the resolution, the ayes are 50 and nays are 1, and this measure has received the requisite constitutional majority and therefore is passed. Recognize the senator from the 11th for a motion.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move that the Senate agree to House Bill 193 as amended by the House.
The senator has moved that the Senate agree to the House amendment to House Bill 193. Secretary, read the caption.
House Bill 193 by Representative Anderson of the 10th and others, a bill to be entitled an act to amend Article 2 of Chapter 91 of Title 36 of the Official Code of Georgia annotated, relating to public works contracting and bidding requirements so as to increase the dollar values of certain public works construction contracts exempt from bidding requirements. The Senate offers the following amendment to amend House Bill 193 by inserting after line 3 the following: provide for an exception to competitive bidding requirements for rapid transit authorities making certain purchases from vendors that are under contract with certain governmental entities. The House offers the following amendment to the Senate amendment by deleting the state of Georgia, the federal government, or in lines 10 and 11. That completes the order.
Recognize the senator from the 11th.
Thank you, Mr. President. This is HB 193. It came over from the House. We amended it on the floor here. It's raising the government contracts that are for bid from $100,000 to $250,000. We sent it back over, and they deleted state of Georgia and the federal government in our amendment. It was a friendly amendment. We're supportive of that, and just would appreciate everybody to agree on that. I'll be glad to take any questions if there are any. I'll yield the well. Thank y'all. Appreciate your support.
You got no questions, Senator. Senator yields the well. Any other senator wish to speak for or against the measure? Chair hearing none. Recognize Senator from the 37th. For what purpose do you rise?
Mr. President, pursuant to Rule 8- something in here, I'm going to ask to be recused for this vote for potential professional conflict of interest.
Without objection, Senator is excused. Does any other senator wish to speak for or against the measure? Chair hears none. The senator has moved that the Senate agree to the House amendment on the Senate amendment to House Bill 193. All those in favor of the measure, vote yea. Opposed, nay. Secretary, unlock the machine. On the passage of the bill, the yeas are 40, the nays are 12, and this bill, having received the constitutional requisite, is therefore passed. Moving on to Senate Bill 13, recognize the senator from the 56.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move that the Senate agree to the House substitute to Senate Bill 13 as amended.
Senator has moved that Senate agree to Senate bill as amended. Secretary, read the caption.
Senate Bill 13 by Senator Albers of the 56 and others, a bill to be entitled an act to amend Code Sections 9-13-161, 44-14-162, and 48-4-1 of the Official Code of Georgia annotated, relating to where and when sales under execution held and change of place of public sales by court order, sales made on foreclosure under power of sale, and procedures for sales under tax levies and executions respectively, so as to authorize online public sales under tax levies and executions. The House offers the following substitute to Senate Bill 13, a bill to be entitled an act to amend Chapter 5 of Title 48 of the Official Code of Georgia annotated, relating to ad valorem taxation of property, so as to revise the language required to be included in the notices of current assessment, to add hearing officer review for tax assessment of certain business personal property, to provide for related matters. Senator Albers of the 56 offers the following amendment to amend the House substitute to Senate Bill 13 by striking lines 1 through the end and inserting in lieu thereof the following: to amend Code Sections 9-13-161 and 14-14-162 and Title 48 of the Official Code of Georgia annotated, relating to where and when sales under execution held and change of place of public sales by court order, sales made on foreclosure under power of sale. That completes the order, Mr. President.
Senator from the 56.
Thank you, Mr. President. Due to an error by Legislative Council, I'm going to ask that we table this bill until we can get it corrected.
Senator is asked to table the bill. Without objection, this bill is tabled. Recognize the senator from the 23rd.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move that the Senate agree to the House substitute for Senate Bill 107.
Senator has moved that the Senate agree to the House substitute on Senate Bill 107. Secretary will read the caption.
Senate Bill 107 by Senator Burns of the 23rd and others. A bill to be entitled an act to amend Title 31 of the Official Code of Georgia Annotated relating to health so as to enact Izzy's Law to provide that the Department of Public Health shall develop and make available for download from its internet website a model aquatic safety plan based on national standards for private swim instructors. The House offers the following substitute to Senate Bill 107, a bill to be entitled an act to amend Title 31 of the Official Code of Georgia Annotated relating to health so as to enact Izzy's Law to provide for the development of a model aquatic safety plan. That completes the order, Mr. President.
Recognize the senator from 23rd.
Thank you, Mr. President. Colleagues, I bring you the last step in Senate Bill 107, adoption. This is Izzy's Law. Israel Scott was a young boy who drowned in a swimming lesson in my district in June. This body has been very supportive. I want to thank this body. I want to thank our colleagues in the House. I want to thank DPH as we crafted legislation to protect Georgians who take private swim lessons by the use and the requirement for an aquatic safety plan. I ask for your favorable consideration. Thank you, Mr. President. I yield the well.
Senator has yielded the well. Does any other senator wish to speak for or against the measure? Chair hearing none. The senator from the 23rd has moved that the Senate agree to the House substitute to Senate Bill 107. All those in favor will vote yea. All those opposed, nay. Secretary, unlock the machine. On the passage of the bill, the yeas are 51, the nays are 3. This bill, having received the requisite constitutional majority, is therefore passed. Recognize Senator from the 24th to speak to Senate Bill 121.
Mr. President, I ask that we agree with Senate Bill 121 as amended from the House.
Senators move that the Senate agree to the House substitute on Senate Bill 121. Secretary, read the caption.
Senate Bill 121 by Senator Anderson of the 24th and others. A bill to be entitled an act to amend Chapter 60 of Title 36 of the Official Code of Georgia Annotated relating to general provisions applicable to counties and municipal corporations so as to prohibit local governments from denying the drilling, servicing, or repair of new or existing water wells on single-family residential and farm properties. The House offers the following substitute to Senate Bill 121, a bill to be entitled an act to amend Chapter 60 of Title 36 of the Official Code of Georgia Annotated, relating to general provisions applicable to counties and municipal corporations so as to prohibit local governments from denying the drilling, servicing, or repair of new or existing water wells on single-family residential and farm properties. That completes the order, Mr. President.
Recognize senators from the 24th.
Thank you, Mr. President. I ask you to vote green for Senate Bill 121 as amended. It's a great bill for the great people of the great state of Georgia. It gives them the freedom to choose if they want to drill a well, if they got an acre or more. Thank you so much.
Recognize the senator from the 53rd.
Thank you, Mr. President. I did have a question for the author. Is it not true, if the author was still up there, I would question him as to why farms were taken out of the House legislation?
I'm sure if he was still in the well, he'd be happy to answer you too, Senator. Does any other senator wish to speak for or against the measure? Chair hearing none. The senator has moved that the Senate agree to the House substitute to SB 121. All those in favor vote yea, all opposed nay. Secretary, unlock the machine. Senator from the 56th, what purpose do you rise?
I would like to take my bill off the table at the appropriate time.
At the appropriate time, we'll take up that measure. On the passage of the bill, the yeas are 52 and the nays are 1, and this bill, having received the requisite constitutional majority, is therefore passed. Now it's time to take up the senator from 56 motion to bring SB 13 off the table.
That's correct. As amended by the House and now Senate amend.
All right. The motion is to take it off the table. Secretary, read the caption.
Senate Bill 13 by Senator Alberts of the 56th and others, a bill to be entitled an act to amend Code Sections 9-13-161, 44-14-162, and 48-4-1 of the Official Code Georgia Annotated, relating to where and when sales under execution held and change of place of public sales by court order, sales made on foreclosure under power of sale, and procedures for sales under tax levies and executions respectively.
Is there objection to taking it off the table? Chair hearing none, I recognize the senator from the 56th.
Thank you, Mr. President. I apologize for the confusion. I want to thank our friends of Legislative Council for all their great work here. This is Senate Bill 13 that we passed with all support minus 1, which allows our sheriffs to conduct online auctions. It is a very simple bill, just brings us into the 21st century. In addition, the House actually stripped that part of the bill out and put their own bill in there, but there was good stuff there. So this restores our language, but also allows for an additional bite at the apple to add an additional part of the appraisal process for your property taxes, which is a important component for those who have had to go before a hearing officer in the past. But there's not enough appraisers today. So in the last part of this bill, which I think is a great addition, is it allows any former or current appraiser or chief appraiser that desires to be a hearing officer to get a bit more hearing officers in order to process these, so people don't end up at the Board of Equalization in perpetuity and an opportunity to appeal property taxes. I know that we have seen extraordinary rise in our property taxes and the assessments on those over the last many years, and we want to make sure we're not taxing people out of the house and we have a fair process. If there are no questions, I'll yield the well and ask for your favorable consideration.
You do have a few questions, Senator. Recognize the senator from the 41st.
Thank you, Mr. President. This is a parliamentary inquiry. Mr. President.
State your inquiry.
Can you tell us how this is in order per Senate Rule 7-1.6? I could be misunderstanding this, but it seems like we've completely stripped a bill and put another bill on top of it, because the first line say by striking lines 1 through the end of and inserting in lieu thereof. So I just am unclear about how we're able to do this. No offense to the chairman. I appreciate your bill. I'm just trying to learn here.
Yeah, well, this is a special action, so that rule doesn't actually apply to this. Senator from the 53rd.
Thank you, Mr. President. I ask for unanimous consent to be excused under Rule 5-18.
Without objection, the senator from the 53rd is excused. Senator from the 19th.
Thank you, Mr. President. Senator, you yield?
I yield to the Appropriations Chairman.
Thank you so much. I got some questions. It looks like these examples of for additional powers that now these hearing officers can have, and I see how the bill is written in that way, but they're excluded from all wireless property. Why?
Wireless property, meaning typically for cell sites or what used to be the old microwave towers you might remember from years past, had a whole separate governance structure that was put in the code decades ago. So they have always had a separate carve out, and we didn't want to interrupt the code while making this change.
Will the senator further yield?
I do.
Will this require then, if a wireless company submits a property tax appeal, that now the county will have to go get a certain special type of appraiser to be the hearing officer for those hearings?
No, it doesn't really change what they were doing in the past, Mr. Chairman. It allows them to stay where they were basically in the code. So when we made the other changes, we wanted to make sure that they stayed separate as it's been in the past.
Gotcha. Will the senator yield for one further question?
Certainly.
When you had one no vote on your last bill, do you know who it was?
My guess is it could have been the senator from the 19th. I'm not sure.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You have no further questions, Senator.
Thank you. I'd ask for your favorable consideration.
Does any other senator wish to speak for or against the measure? Chair hears none. The senator has moved that the Senate agree to the House substitute to Senate Bill 13 as amended. Without objection, all those in favor of the measure will vote yea. All opposed, nay. Secretary, unlock the machine. On the passage of the bill, the yeas are 37, the nays are 14. This bill, having received the requisite constitutional majority, is therefore passed. Okay, we're going to break for lunch. I know the pro tem has got lunch provided for everyone, so we're going to break for lunch and look at coming back probably around 2 o'clock. Come back around 2 o'clock. Break for lunch and figure out how many more bills we're going to take up here. So, Senate stand at ease.